My name is Ryan Dove, and this is a story of a journey my family has been on since June of 2013. Through all our ups and downs and many twists and turns, the MAC Fund has provided comfort and hope to our family.
As parents of children with cancer, it feels very lonely, and to know that there's an organization here raising money to help find better treatments, to help find a cure, it makes you feel like you're part of a community. We've met many people through the MAC Fund that we can depend on, talk to about things, and just the hopes that future children that will be getting the diagnosis have even a better chance than our child of getting those things, whether it be a better treatment, more effective, less toxic, or ultimately a cure.
The research from the MAC Fund helps other kids in the future get through it in easier ways, and eventually no one will have to go through cancer because there'll be a cure because of the research they're doing.
Lily was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in June of 2013. It all sort of started in the summer when the girls were playing recreational softball, and we noticed that Lily was starting to slow down on the bases and starting to complain about chest pains. Lily and Bailey both had made their all-star team for that rec softball, and Aaron wanted to make sure that Lily was able to play it. So she was expecting sort of a virus situation, but took her into a doctor anyway. The doctor had mentioned that Lily was anemic, and they didn't know exactly why, so they wanted to run more tests. And one of those was a complete blood count, CBC. At the time, the nurse came out and got Aaron, and as they were walking into the room, the nurse asked Lily to come along with her. And at that point, Aaron knew that there was something not right about this. So we get to Children's, and they get us checked in, and at the time we get sent to the hot unit, and really from that point it was really surreal. They start with this tour, and they start to show you where everything is, and here's your kitchen, and here's where you're going to be staying, and from that point forward, we started to learn that this isn't necessarily the end. That we're at a place that knows how to deal with this, and the words they used are most kids will survive this. We know how to treat this, and we know how to treat it well.
We had the light at the end of the tunnel with Lily because she was, her end date was August of 15. So we had that looming, and we were excited for that and to be able to continue with normal things. In March of 2015, we were at a winter carnival at the girls' school on March 6th. It was a Friday night. The girls were running around like crazy, like they didn't even know Ryan and I were there. When we came home that night, Bailey started complaining about hip and upper leg pain. We didn't think of anything of it initially, but she continued all throughout the night not being able to sleep because of intense pain. Ryan and I just knew what it was. It's one of the top symptoms for leukemia. The next morning, Bailey and Maddie were scheduled to go to a siblings meeting, and I started taking them there. Ryan called me during my drive and said, you have to turn around. I said, I know, but I don't want to. I took her, it was a Saturday, so I took her to a walk-in clinic. I pulled the nurse aside, trying not to let Bailey see. Bailey's very smart and now is very aware of things because she had seen 2 years of her sister go through it. I pulled the nurse aside and told her what I thought it was. She told the doctor. The doctor said, I'm sure it's just growing pains, it's just muscular. And I said, I need you to be as thorough as possible today and run some blood tests. And they did. They listened to me. When the results were finally in, they asked Bailey to sit with the nurses. And I knew 100% right then. The doctor actually said, I want you to look at the numbers because you probably see them more often than I do. And they were already arranging a bed for her at Children's. When we got to Children's, it felt different that time. The nurse that was Bailey's nurse is one of Lily's favorite nurses.
Having one child with cancer is stressful enough, but having a child who's 6 months from completing therapy and finding out that her identical twin has cancer just adds to that stress and that confusion.
The day before the diagnosis, we were like everybody else. We figured cancer was rare, they have plenty of support, they don't need us, and most of the kids will survive it just fine. The next day, completely different. And 2 years after that, it's happened again. So number one is it's not rare. And number two, it can happen to anybody at the blink of an eye. And then all of a sudden we realize that there's this organization called the MAC Fund that's willing to give $10 million dedicated to solving the problem that my child is facing. From that moment forward, we've been MAC Fund supporters.
Leukemia is actually a cancer of blood cells, and the type of leukemia that Bailey and Lily have is called acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
The cure rates when I first started in the early 80s were probably around 50% for children with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Those cure rates are, for all comers, regardless of risk, are now approaching, on a whole, about 90%.
However, those cures come with a price. We have intensified our therapy considerably over the last 3 decades, and as a result of that, we cure more patients, but about 2/3 of those patients will have some life-altering side effect. A majority of children with cancer actually are enrolled in clinical trials. So as a consequence of enrollment on clinical trials, we've been able to advance our understanding of treatments and also the biology of the disease. The therapies that we offered Lily and Bailey for their leukemia were really built upon research that's occurred over the last 30 years. Moving forward, we will use samples from Bailey and from Lily to really help us identify the next generation of therapies. Clinical trials cost money, and about 80 to 90% of kids with cancer are enrolled on clinical trials. And with the decreased funding that we're seeing from the national government, we need to cover those costs with other sources. So philanthropic support from the community is absolutely critical to do that.
I'm happy that the MAC Fund is there for us, and I like that they do events to raise money and make it fun for different ways to raise money.
I like how the MAC Fund provides people that I can talk to and camps that I can go to and people who can help out my sisters.
I think for our family, having the different events definitely, because it's something the kids are involved with. They can see how the money is being raised, but then they can also see the other side and how it's being used.
Thank you to the MAC Fund for giving our family hope, comfort, and a path forward through research. We also ask for your continued generous support. Help us help them fulfill their mission and cure the MAC Fund out of existence.